Good morning, Brilliant Health community. Good morning, community in general. My name is Dana, for those of you who have not joined me in the past, and thank you for joining this monthly June Healthy Kitchens, Healthy Lives cooking demonstration. This is one of my favorite parts of the month because I can step out of my clinical mindset and move into my creative, artistic mindset. So please step in with me if any of you are cooking along. I hope you have everything prepared and pre-chopped because there's a lot of moving parts in this one. It's not difficult, but it is something that takes a little bit of thought in advance. So today we're making a dish that I created on my own in my kitchen in one of the creative moments of my life and shared it with our marketing team who thought that it would be fantastic to share with all of you. Before I get started, as all of you know, I like to share something personal before we get started. And so here's what happened to me at the park a few days ago. I was doing my normal stretches and I was in a stance where one leg was in the front, one leg was in the back, and I was bending over, stretching my legs, and I felt this presence next to me. And I opened my eyes, I'd had them closed, listening to music, just in my zone, and there was Frankie. Frankie is my neighbor's little tiny poodle dog, and he had wandered right up to me and was staring straight up into my face with the sweetest little look I'd ever seen. And I have to tell you, that absolutely made my day. So I hope there's a Frankie in your life somewhere around the bend. Anyway, with that joyous note, let's go ahead and get started. So I have in front of me, let me move this aside, a assortment of vegetables and herbs and spices. I was at the farmer's market recently and I was blessed enough to get some fresh thyme, and so I've chopped that up for you guys, and it's a really fantastic aroma, so we're going to be using that today. So the first thing that you want to start doing is preheat your pan. If you have a gas stove, that won't take more than a few seconds, but if you have an electric or an induction top like I'm using, it'll take a few minutes longer. And I always like you to preheat your pot without anything in it so that you can really know what temperature it is getting to, and not have the oil heat with the pot, because then the oil has the potential to become overheated and start smoking. And when oil smokes, that means it's beyond its capacity to maintain the integrity, the chemistry integrity of the oil, and it becomes rancid. It forms trans fatty acids. So we can take really healthy oils and completely obliterate them by cooking them at too high of a heat. So now that my pot is warm, if you want to test it to see if it's too hot, you can take a little spritz of water on your fingers and just dash it onto the pan. If it evaporates, sizzles and evaporates, it's probably too hot, and you can bring the temperature down for a few minutes before you add your oil. So that's one little quick tip that will help you bring about better food. So today I'm using some coconut oil. This is an organic brand from Sprouts, and you can use any kind of brand that you want. This was one that was available to me. And so I'm going to take, it's liquid right now because it's warm everywhere. Even though it's in air conditioned, it's still a little bit warm. And so that's okay, don't think it's gone bad. You'll notice that your coconut oil in the winter will get hard and white and solid. It's a saturated fat, so it's just gonna move and ebb and flow with the temperature, the ambient temperature, but that's fine. So I'm just putting in enough oil to cover the bottom of the pan. And then, because my stovetop is nice and warm, I can already tell, I'm going to add in a little bit of pink Himalayan salt and just do a few dashes. Go light on the salt in the beginning because that's something that you can always put more in, but you really can't take out. And then I'm going to add in some crushed black pepper and that usually makes me sneeze, so we'll see what happens. And then I'm also adding in another ingredient that I've really come to love over time, and this is an herb blend. It actually has a little bit of salt in it too, which is why I say go light on the other salt. And these are all organic herbs, so I'm gonna just sprinkle a bit of that in as well. And the reason I add the seasonings, the dry seasonings to the oil, is because they start infusing into the oil and become much more synergistic or flavorful, if you will. The next thing that I'm going to do is add some red onions. If any of you are shy of red onions because they're strong, this will be the turning point for you. And you can hear there's some sizzling going on already. And remember that the onions will shrink up a little bit as they're cooking, so you can put a little more in there if you like onions. If you don't, put a little bit less. And one of the things I wanted to mention about the red onions is that they're rich in anthocyanins. And anthocyanins are, that's a fancy name. I love saying that word. Makes me happy. And it's the name for the specific phytochemical found in red onions. And as you guys know, for the ones that have been following me for a while, I always like to include a lot of color in my meals. And there's nothing wrong with using a yellow onion, but I really like diversity in color and within food groups. And if you are patient and you allow the red onion to cook for about 5 minutes, it'll become translucent and get really, really sweet. And I've actually converted people to becoming red onion lovers just by experimenting with this and trying it out. So I have this going on in the pan right now, and once it gets a little translucent, I'll pull it up and show it to you guys. While that's cooking, I want to talk about another main ingredient in the dish that we're going to add in. And this is rice cauliflower. It's not a new ingredient to most people, but I just wanted to show you, this is the kind that I bought. It's CC's Veggie Company. And the reason I wanted to point this out to you is because if you go to their website and you click on the recipe section, it's really a fantastic resource. You can go in and filter by diet type if you're avoiding gluten or dairy. You can filter by main dish, by ingredients. Say you're wanting to use the rice cauliflower, you only want to see dishes with rice cauliflower. So I encourage you to pop onto their website, and it's a free resource, and I have been really enjoying it actually. I've been making quite a few new dishes from this, and you'll probably see one of them in one of my next cooking classes. They've been so good. So I wanted to point that out, and as you know, we're really here at Lifescape, we're really promoting cruciferous vegetables because they are major anti-inflammatory. They help promote regularity and clear out toxins. They also provide sulfur, which is an essential component for detoxification in the liver. So the more variety of cruciferous you can get, the better. I will make a side note though, for those of you or people that you know who have concerns with your thyroid. Some people have asked me, well, Dana, aren't those coitrogens? They are if they're raw. So if you have a thyroid concern, or someone you're cooking for does, no problem, just make sure you cook them properly and they'll be fine. Because there's so many other benefits associated with that I would hate for you to eliminate that entire group of broccoli, cauliflower, Brussels sprouts, kale, just for that particular reason. And that's one of the things I really like to bring to light with most people, is that it really is a personalized approach to food and nutrition. And so what's good for you may not be good for everyone else. So just ask the question, and I'm always here as a resource for my community if you want to ask me. Because the internet has a lot of information on it. Some of it is great and some of it is really not. So let's just be savvy about that. The onions are continuing to cook nicely. And so what I'm going to do is show you, as promised, this is how they look if you can see, they've changed and they're not quite as bright white anymore. And so I'm going to continue cooking them. And while that's happening, I'm going to add in the garlic. And I have this pre-chopped up. If you chop up the garlic in advance, it actually allows some of the chemical components of it to intensify and brings about a higher health benefit. So I'm going to add this in now. Some of you may be buying the garlic pre-chopped and stored in some kind of an oil in a glass jar. That's different. That's not quite the same health effect. I recommend you give it a go with the raw garlic, and you'll be grateful because the flavor and the smells and the aromas are part of what the whole cooking experience is about. So the one thing I want to caution you with garlic is that it burns quickly, so don't add it first. Let it nestle in with the other ingredients and start bringing its aroma and flavor up. And my onions are getting more and more translucent, which means they're becoming more and more delicious. All right, so we're gonna keep that going. And then moving on, what I'm going to do is add the cauliflower. So here's what it looks like. It comes in this boat with a plastic coating over it. And then I'm just gonna sprinkle this into the pan, and I will hold this up for you guys to see in just a minute. And you can make your own rice cauliflower. I have done that many times. If you have a food processor, then you're golden. And I really like doing that because it's extremely fresh and it's therapeutic. For some of you who don't find the kitchen to be a comfortable place, maybe try doing some of these things, you know, like making these dishes ahead of time that turn out beautifully, and then you'll start feeling more and more comfortable and at ease in the kitchen. So when it's riced like this, cauliflower will cook much faster than if it's in big chunks. And that's another thing that I want to mention when you're thinking about food. It's all about the size and the shape. The texture of the food really makes a difference, and for some people it's the game changer. And so if you're cooking things and they're all uniform shape, that means they're going to cook at the same time, and therefore your dish is going to be done at the same time, and everything's going to be synergistic and fantastic. So while that's cooking, I'm going to sprinkle in the fresh thyme. Wow, so aromatic. Again, worth it if you can procure some fresh herbs and spices over the course of the summer. Last time I mentioned North Scottsdale Farmers Market. That is the name of the market itself. They have a presence on Facebook if you want to go to their site and get on their mailing list. And every Saturday they do a pickup. If you don't want to walk around the market or don't feel safe, that's completely fine and understandable. You can pre-order a box, drive by their tent, and they'll put it in your vehicle and off you go. So they change the ingredients every week, and they'll announce that in the email, and then you can decide if you want to purchase it or not. So this is smelling fantastic, and it's cooking really nicely. We're going to just keep it going for a few minutes while I talk about something else that's really top of mind right now for me and for a lot of my patients. And that's this idea of fermented products. And I've really, and those of you I've had consults with recently have really been mentioning this, and I have for some time. I'm bringing in a sample to show you. This is one of several brands that are available. This happens to be a king-size container and comes from Costco. A friend of mine was generous enough to bring this to me to see how efficient it could be, and wow, has my intake of ferments gone up having such a big supply to come to. And so this one is cabbage with a little bit of garlic in it, and adding fermented vegetable, we'll do that at the very end because it's a living, breathing culture, so we don't want to heat it. We just want to use it as a condiment at the very end. And let me stir this before I get into my mindset with you guys. Okay, and so what I wanted to say about that is that we have trillions of bacteria in our bodies, especially in our microbiome or gut microbiome, because we know there's actually many microbiomes. There's a mouth microbiome, which my dentist is helping me with, and there's a vaginal microbiome. There's a whole host of areas in the body where bacteria colonize and keep us healthy and happy. And so what the fermented bacteria or the fermented vegetable do is they bring in the good bacteria, if you will, and also enzymes. And as we age, we tend to lose diversity in the gut. Why? Well, because we've been through more than we were at 20. And so antibiotics and stress and poor sleep and things like that can decimate the bacteria population. And so bringing in a very viable, easily absorbed form of bacteria can be really fantastic. Also, it'll help enhance your digestion. So if you feel like you're bloating or slow bowel movements, this can be a really nice way to address that. It also can enhance your immune system. Who doesn't want that right now? That's amazing. Also, the bacteria in the fermented foods lower the intestinal pH. That's really important because potential pathogenic bacteria can come into our bodies on a daily basis. For the most part, they don't affect us or make us sick. But if you have a really diverse microbiome, then you're much more likely to produce antimicrobial agents that can, like proteins, that can help neutralize and then slough off those pathogenic or bad bacteria, so they never cause us any harm and we have no knowledge of them having ever been there. Also, bacteria synthesize vitamins. There's so many vitamins in there. It's B vitamins, like a chicken soup of B vitamins. B1, B2, B3, B6, B5, B12 for memory. All of those are really important for enhancing mood and cognition and liver detoxification, specifically phase 2. So that's another piece, as well as producing vitamin K. And then the last piece here is that when you have this really beautiful balanced microbiome, gut microbiome, you're less likely to experience chronic disease. And here's the big one, obesity. That's usually a root cause of many other dysfunctions. So that helps regulate metabolism and also decreases incidence of asthma and IBS. So if you're not convinced now to try those, I don't know when you will be, but they're really fantastic. And remember, they're living bacteria, so they're in the refrigerated section of your store, and they need to stay that way. And you can, if you get really interested, start making your own ferments. And one of the nurse practitioners that I adore, that has worked here for a long time and then has moved on to join another practice, has been making her own for some time, and she was lucky enough to, I was lucky enough to get some of that batch that she made and really enjoyed it. So with that being said, we're going to move back into the mindset of creativity, and here's what I've got going. I'm going to add the coconut aminos, which I didn't do earlier, now that everything is cooked nicely. And if any of you use soy sauce, you can see that the this product is very similar, but it's without soy, and some people do need to avoid soy. So this is a great alternative. It's sort of salty and sweet, and it's one of my secret ingredients. So I'm going to just drizzle a little bit of that into the dish. And I see someone wants to know about the market. It's called North Scottsdale Farmers Market. It's on Alma School and Dynamite in North Scottsdale. So if you want to look them up online, you can just type in North Scottsdale Farmers Market and it should point you in the right direction. Otherwise, feel free to message me later and I'll send you the link. Okay, so now that I've got the coconut aminos in here, we're starting to have a fantastic dish. And this can be something you can make in advance and then you can enjoy for breakfast, lunch, or dinner. It's really up to you. And I always find that when I make this, I end up eating at least half of it at one time. It's so good. And so what I'm going to do next is I'm going to show you how amazing this looks and smells even better. And then I'm going to shift onto a plate so I can show you how important presentation is. And I always like to eat with my eyes, and I think most people do. So I encourage you to do that. And if you are making food for yourself or other people, and have fun with it. Decorate it like art and find little garnishes and things like that. So that's what we're going to do today. And what I've learned from some of the great chefs is if you do stuff in dimensions or depth, it's more interesting for other people. All right, so here's what we've got so far. Here's our rice cauliflower, the red onion, garlic, and spices. And then we're going to add in some walnuts. And you can toast these if you want in advance, or you can use them raw, whatever you like. And I'm just gonna sprinkle some of these in. And I like to use nuts because, especially walnuts, because they're really rich in omega-3 fats. And those kinds of fats help dampen down inflammation. And we're all looking to balance our omega-6 intake with omega-3s. So this is a nice way to do that. Plus it adds some fiber and protein. If you're wanting this to be a fully plant-based meal, that would be a good way to go. And then the next thing I'm gonna add onto here, actually, is this. These are some beautiful red cherry tomatoes. These are orange, yellow, and red. I love the color and the diversity. So I'm going to take some of these and put them on top and let them sort of fall as they may. And if you're like me at all and you really enjoy what you're doing in the kitchen, take pictures of your food. It'll help you remember what you did. You can share them with other people. And when you do that, it'll bring them joy and make them want to make your recipes and share other recipes with you. All right, and then the next thing that we're gonna add are marinated artichoke hearts. This is one of my favorites. I actually pressure cooked a whole artichoke last night and couldn't get enough of the heart. This I did purchase in a can so I could get more than just a small amount. This one is from Sprouts. It's their quartered artichoke hearts. And there's other brands, of course, too. And so I'm just sprinkling these on top, and these add a little bit of a tang. Also, artichokes are one of the best prebiotic foods to help nourish those bacteria that you've worked so hard to plant in the right soil in your gut. So there's that. And then of course we want to add some color. So I have some fresh chopped cilantro, and every time I chop cilantro, the house just smells like a garden. And that's a smell that I can never get enough of. And so I will sprinkle some of this on top. And looks like a feast is coming up here. And then at the very end, I want to add some of the fermented vegetable. And you can just have a tablespoon or two for your own personal serving. If you want more, fine, that's fantastic. But if you're new to it and you're just going slow, no problem. Just start with a little bit and see how it grows on you, because I guarantee you it will. All right, so with that being said, I'm gonna try not to dump this over and show everybody. Look at how fantastic this is. I'll take a photo and post it on the Facebook page for everybody after this broadcast and before the staff get to nibble on it. So voila, there you go. It wasn't hard to make at all. It was very enjoyable. And I really appreciate all of your presence. I see there's a few questions. Let me see if I can read them properly. Yes, the recipe is posted. It's in the Facebook group and you can download it. Also, if any of you received emails from the Lifescape Marketing, they have the recipe in there as well. And oh, looks like marketing just posted for me. Thank you, ladies. And so there's another way to go about it. There may have been a few other questions, and I can see them. How many servings would this be? Wow, for me it'd be 2. I'm small and mighty. But no, this would easily be 4 servings for a group of people, especially if you were serving it alongside some salmon or some grilled chicken. If you were having this as a main dish, maybe it's just going to be really for 2 or 3 people at one time. You can always add a few more walnuts if you want to make it a little more hearty. Let's see what else is coming in. The herb seasoning is from Sprouts. It's my favorite store. I don't have any affiliation with them, but I should. So yes, this is called Herbamare, herbed sea salt, and it's by A. Vogel, A-V-O-G-E-L. This is something I've been using for years, and it's really fantastic. Okay. I think that's all the questions that I've seen so far. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. It's been a pleasure to connect with you. And of course, reach out to me as needed. I'm always here. And before I say goodbye, I do have one more thing. I want to announce something really fun and engaging and fantastic. I'm hosting a through Lifescape. We are hosting a 10-day metabolic reset and renew program. It's set to begin the end of June. There'll be more information coming out soon, and it's going to involve a community of people coming together to boost their immunity, detox from sugar and carbohydrate addiction, and find joy in new foods. I'm going to be providing an entire menu for the length of the program. I've partnered with Cuisine by Celine, who is an amazing French chef, and she is offered to make lunches and dinners in various segments or proportions of the program. So if those of you want help with cooking, she can be there for you. There's going to be lifestyle tips on getting better sleep, on mindfulness, on stress reduction. It's really going to be a very integrative program. So please keep your eyes out for that. And do keep in mind that Lifescape members will have a 50% off the listed price. So that is something exciting I forgot to mention in the beginning, but here we are. So again, thank you so much, everyone. Take care of yourselves, be safe, and be well. And I look forward to our next time together.